Germany's defense minister says that the country must urgently strengthen its anti-drone defenses, but cautions against a hasty response to recent incursions. Those remarks followed drone sightings over German airspace last week, which led to a major disruption at Munich Airport and left thousands of passengers stranded. German officials suspect that Russia is behind a surge in drone and aircraft incursions across the region, including those that brought Munich's runways to a standstill. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that the frequency of the incursions was unprecedented, but that none of the drones spotted so far were carrying weapons. The Kremlin has denied any involvement. Now, speaking on German TV, Chancellor Friedrich Merz placed the blame for these recent drone flights at Moscow's feet and said that it was up to NATO members to protect one another.
We have to make NATO so strong that it deters Russia. That's what we've always said. To put it in one sentence, we have to be able to defend ourselves so that we don't have to defend ourselves. We're on the right path, but we haven't been doing enough in recent years. We underestimated the threat. We made mistakes in the past, but now we're fixing that.
DW reporter Matthew Moore has more on the growing threat in German skies. Tell us a little bit more about what Merz had to say about drone incursions in Germany.
Well, Friedrich Merz said that basically Germany and Europe and NATO, if you like, are in a daily battle to withstand Russia's political and military aggression. And he pointed to these recent drone incidents as an example of that. He says that the suspicion is that Russia is behind most of these drone flights that we've seen in Europe in the last week or so. He did say, however, with regard to the incidents in Munich and Frankfurt airports, that there are likely to be copycat drone hobbyists, if you like. Their investigations are ongoing, but he was really keen to stress the fact, Sarah, that these are a really serious threat to our security, as he put it. He did underline that there are not armed drones here that we're dealing with here, but surveillance attempts, he said, that were attempts to unsettle the public.
How confident are the authorities that these drones are coming from Russia, Matthew, based upon what we've been hearing?
I would say not 100% confident. Merz said, we know that Putin wants to test us. And he said that indications point to Russia being behind this concerted drone campaign. But interestingly, in early September, German special forces raided a cargo vessel suspected of launching drones in the Baltic Sea. The Scanlark, a cargo ship registered in the Caribbean, but believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet, was raided by special force crew in a northern port in Germany, and 5 crew members, Russian crew members who are suspected of espionage, are being investigated. And specifically what this vessel is accused of doing is surveilling a German Navy vessel and flying a drone, and so lots of devices were seized from the vessel, data storage devices, and they are being looked at by German investigators. Now, the incidents at Munich and Frankfurt Airport, it's still early in the investigations process, and the investigations are ongoing, but it's believed that with Frankfurt, a 41-year-old man who appears to be a hobbyist with no connection to Russia was arrested, and Merz was keen to point out in this television interview, that people like this individual should prepare for harsh penalties if they fly drones in space around critical infrastructure like airports.
So what's the plan to address the security gaps presented by drones?
Yeah, last week we had a big European summit where they were talking about the European response to this. Now we're looking at the German response, and at the moment it's the police that have the responsibility to combat drones, but they don't have the equipment necessary to detect and defend against it. Interior Minister last week said that he wanted to set up a kind of drone defence unit which would help allow the authorities to coordinate the response. We've heard from senior politicians here saying that we should just shoot down all drones on site. That's obviously hugely complex and can lead to kind of danger for innocent bystanders on the ground. So that's what makes it so tricky. There will be a discussion about this at the German cabinet and the government this week about allowing the army to shoot down drones when they're big enough that the police cannot handle them. So there's a big discussion here about what exactly is the right response, because clearly this is something that is at the moment is urgent.
DW reporter Matthew Moore, thank you.